What are the common issues, particularly for you as a PSA in a secondary school?
The common ones would be around, I have to find that I've dealt quite a lot with anxiety, children having anxiety problems around school, particularly from the year 7s coming in. And often what you'll find is that they're used to being in a smaller primary school where, you know, they might probably leave the class 2 times a week, maybe to go to IT lesson or assembly, and then everything's in the same class. So when they come to secondary school, it can be quite daunting. Just the sheer size of the school, and Eastby is quite a big school. We do a number of things to try to integrate them back in, to make that transition smooth. So, you know, we'll have coffee mornings where we'll talk to parents about things that they might want to look out for, you know, little tips like, you know, getting the child's uniform in the night, you know, ready for the night before, and packing their bags and talking them through it, and, you know, so they've got everything, so they're not rushing around in the morning, and, you know, and I'm making them aware that it is a big transition. And it's not only a transition from school to secondary, but it's also partly about moving away from that more independence as well, and asserting that attendance, maybe coming to school by themselves. And so sometimes you get parents who are even anxious about that. I've worked with a parent who, his child is in, so she's sort of like 13, but she had issues around not wanting to let the child come to school by herself. And when she wasn't well, the child wouldn't come in. And then what investigations into what was happening with the family turned out that she had lost a child previously, so she had major anxieties around separation from this child, next one, even though she was quite old, and she had major health issues as well. Sometimes there are issues that that their child might be going through that they might not have actually just sort of like processed, being able to think through. And so it's not me going in and saying, oh, you should do this or you should do that, but actually sometimes just sitting with a parent and saying, okay, so, you know, you're worried about your child's behaviour, or whether or not they've got boyfriends, or whether they're in having relationships, and how they're going to manage that, and, you know, what time to let their children out and what time to bring them back in. And sometimes it's about having conversations about that, because if a child is saying that all their peers are going out to clubs and so forth, but they're not getting into bed till very, very late, then that's going to have an impact on the child's ability to concentrate the next day. So sometimes you find parents coming in and saying they don't know what to do in terms of managing their child's independence, how much to give them. There was one child that I went home to, and his attendance had dropped dramatically, and when speaking to the parents, they didn't know that he wasn't even attending, didn't realise, because they were getting texts, but they had literacy issues, so they couldn't read them. And well, the mum couldn't, so it was relying on the dad having to travel in. And then when I went home to her, she said that, well, one, she can't do homework with him very well because she herself can't read, so that flagged up that, okay, we need to put extra support in for this child and actually meet with him to find out what are the problems that as he sees it, as he's having. And he said that, yeah, he's finding it difficult to keep up with the schoolwork because he can't read as well, and obviously he's not been able to go home to get support with the parents to help him with his homework. So, you know, in that instance, it's about putting in place homework club. It could be assisting a parent with their finances. For example, maybe I've had a child whose attendance had dropped dramatically, and we were wanting to know what was happening. So the attendance officers looked at the rate and asked me to just contact the parents to see if there's anything that's going on, anything that I could assist with. And it turned out that the parents were going through some major financial difficulties, and the child had grown out of their uniform and they weren't able to afford to get a new uniform. So something as simple as that, and that was why the child was skipping, because blazer was a lot shorter and he was feeling embarrassed. So in that situation, you know, speaking to the parents, assisted them in getting some access to funds so that they can actually buy a new uniform, and the child's attendance started to improve, but didn't go straight away because there were still issues of him being sort of separated from the peers. You know, with skipping school so much, you know, obviously the friendship groups start to break away, and so with that we had to work with the mentors and the youth workers to start help them to rebuild those friendship groups.